Hey, I just wanted to talk really quickly about some common things I saw in Homework 1. These aren't issues that I saw with Homework 1. Everybody did a pretty good job with it. I mean, it wasn't a hard thing to do, right? A lot of you did a great job by using APA format, which you didn't necessarily have to do for this one, like with the title page and everything. It was just a short, but that's great. And it looked good. It looked good to me. So, like, if you choose to do that for Homework 2, if you write a paper, for Homework 2, you'll have to use APA format for slides also. So it's excellent practice for that. So it's not problems that I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about the things in the homework that people said that they were worried about as possible stumbling blocks for, their future careers. Mostly what I wanted you to do with that is just like, there's research that if you think critically about what actually might be a problem for you in the future and then come up with a possible solution, even if that's the only thing you do, that can help. Like, it helps at least to put it in your mind that those are things that might be problems and you might need to overcome them. So hopefully a lot of people did think critically about this. I think you did talk about things that you're worried about and then think about ways that you can do better with it. And some people said, like, well, money, but I have a scholarship. That's fine. I give you credit for it. But do yourself a favor and think about problems that will actually be problems. Like, what is it, a trait that you have or something with school that you think might be a stumbling block? And then come up with a way to get around that. So you got credit, but for you, go back and actually think about things that, like, you don't have to have a fix for it. Just think about a way that you might fix it. So let's go through some things that people actually were worried about. Looks like I need to move my face over to the other side. There we go. So the GRE. Lots of people are worried about GRE. Well, a lot of schools have stopped requiring the GRE. So if your school is one of those, check on that. So, like, if you're worried about it, go make sure that they do require it. And maybe all of your worries are gone today, and you can worry about other things. But some places are still requiring the GRE, and if you have one of those schools, just cross your fingers that they'll drop it in the next year or two before you have to apply. The reason that they're dropping these is that success in the GRE is largely dependent on how much money you invest. So there's, like, courses that say, like, oh yeah, if you pay us like $2,000, we guarantee that you'll get a certain score on your GRE. So you pay them $2,000, and if you don't get the score on your GRE, they refund you the money that you paid for your GRE, or they pay for all of the GREs that it takes to get to that point. The problem with this is, like, how many of you have $2,000 that you can just, like, throw around? Also, there's tutors. You can take the exam as many times as you want, but that gets expensive really quickly, because back when I took it, it was already $100, maybe $150. I think it's up to $200 now. So, like, if you're taking this thing 3 times, that's rent. Well, it's cheap rent, but it's rent. It's a portion of rent. So basically, some research has been done that shows, like, the more money you throw at this problem of the GRE, the better you'll do. Well, that's not a good way to tell who's better at doing graduate school. If they made it a one-time only thing, well, maybe. So if you could only take it once. But that's not the way it is. So that's why a lot of places are dropping it. What that means is, if you are a person who has a lot of money and you're worried about the GRE, maybe be less worried about it, because you can just throw money at the problem and it'll go away. But most of you aren't, because most of people aren't. I'm not rich. I can't just throw money at my problems and make them go away. So let's assume that that isn't you. One thing that you'll get when you sign up for the GRE is You have a portal that you can go to, and you can take practice exams on the GRE website. They used to be unlimited. I'm unsure if they're still unlimited, but this was just a couple of years ago that they were unlimited, so it hasn't been that long. You should do them. If you have unlimited GREs, you need to use that. Like, exploit that. That's a huge thing that they're giving you because they're computer based, and that's what the GRE is going to be. You're going to go in to a room with a ton of cubicles. Everybody's sitting at a computer with cubicles around them, and you're doing the GRE. And if you take it on your computer, kind of make your area like you're taking it in a cubicle. Try to make it as similar to the testing environment as possible, and then just like do that once a week for a month, 2 months, something like that. Do these exams, and you will be a lot more prepared. Like, you're not even necessarily studying. What you're doing is understanding the types of questions that they're going to ask you. You're understanding your training. It's like your like working out your brain to expect an exam to last this long and to be in this format. All of those will impact your score. You can come in with the same knowledge in your head and do better just because you've like trained for this experience. It's totally true. Absolutely promise you. When I took my GRE, you got a 4. Well, those scores don't make sense anymore. They're old scores. But I studied for like 2 days, and I was like, I don't see what, like, I don't know. It didn't seem like the studying was as great of an idea. Like, studying from one of those GRE prep books, it didn't seem like that was working. Like, I was getting information from it, but it wasn't like transferring. I did do the unlimited practice exams. When I took it, it was on a CD. So that's a while ago. But it had like unlimited, it wasn't really unlimited, but there was like 100 of them on there. I just took them in a room similar to this, just a bunch of times. And that was sort of studying. It wouldn't tell you what you got wrong. It would just tell you your score at the end. But I did really well because like I was ready to sit and do an exam for like 3 hours. The biggest predictor of increasing your score is taking it a second time. That's similar to what we said about throwing money at the problem, but if you can invest in only one thing, just have some money set aside to take it again. And the reason is exactly what we talked about before, but you now know from your first time what the testing environment is like. So you go in and you can more fully use the actual knowledge you have because there's not as much test anxiety because you know what this is like and this environment is like, and you can do better. And then the last thing is you cannot cram for the vocab section. This is just a thing that like can't happen. You won't be able to in a month learn like Latin roots and stuff like that to be able to decode some of the ridiculous words that they throw at you. And going through a list of words, like some people are like, well, I learn a word every day. You don't have that many days like in your life to be able to learn all the words that they could throw at you. What you need to do is focus on studying like etymology. They're going to give you like, what's the definition of this word? And it's a stupid word that you've never seen. Or it's like the 5th definition in the dictionary, right? So like if you look up something, type in a word online, it's like the most common definition, the next common definition, and then they've got all these other definitions. And one might say archaic, and it's still a definition of the word. They will be asking you about one of those definitions. It's not going to be the top, most obvious one. It'll be like utilitarian. What does this mean? It's not going to be just like a space that doesn't have a lot of stuff in it. It's going to be something else. So you can't just like learn all of these and be ready for it. The chances that you would learn a word that they give you, very small. So what you need to do is like learn etymologies. And I would suggest starting that now. Just start like listening to podcasts about linguistics, not about vocabulary words, but just about linguistics. Watch videos about linguistics. Let me give you some tips of these right now. So like there's a YouTube channel called Rob Words. The dude is a total dork, but it's a great channel. And he talks about a lot of like roots. Where do English words come from? And then there's roots. And you can use that to kind of like figure out some of these words. Lexicon Valley is another one that is not in production anymore. And then eventually it switched to like 2 or 3 other podcasts. So if you can find the old version of Lexicon Valley, that's a good one to listen to. That might be a bit of a dig to find that now. And there's 2 versions of Lexicon Valley. They should be in the same like feed. There's one with 2 dudes, and then a professor of linguistics takes over from them. Both versions are worth a listen. They're very interesting. They're interesting beyond just studying for the GRE. The Allusionist, not the Illusionist, but the Allusionist with an A. That's another one. A lot of etymology stuff there, and then just go from there. Once you start watching like and listening to things, the algorithm will start populating your feed with other things that can help you study. So if you're interested in linguistics, just kind of like give in to your nature of being a dork, and this will help you on the GRE vocab section. Now, if you're not interested in this, I don't know, watch them until you are. Like Stockholm Syndrome yourself into liking linguistics. It works. Okay, reading and writing. We're going to do this a little bit in this class. So if you're worried about you don't necessarily know how to read research, or you're not very good with writing, you're going to get a little bit of that here. Not enough to become a master, obviously, so you'll have to continue practicing it outside of this class. But some general tips for reading research. Start with the abstract. The abstract highlights the important parts of the paper and summarizes everything in it. So if you understand the abstract, you will understand the rest of the paper. A lot of times, I think people, if they're like, I have to read this paper, I'm not going to read the abstract. They're trying to cut down on all the stuff you don't have to read. So it's like, well, I'm not going to read the abstract because it's just a summary and I'm going to read it all here. No. Do read the abstract because it's going to give you context for what you're reading. It'll help you understand some of the stuff that you're reading. The other thing is the introduction section of a paper is helpful because there's a lot of relevant information there and some background on what you're going to be reading. However, it's not the actual crux of what the paper is about. So if you just need to understand the paper itself, you can go to the methods and the results and pretty much understand what's been done there. Look at the graph that they have and understand the results. And then kind of, if you need more context, go back to the introduction and figure that out. Now, if your assignment is understanding the introduction and the whole concept, not just one paper, so like say I assign you to like look up more about fluency disorders, cluttering, then you might have to read the introduction because there's going to be relevant information that help you understand what cluttering actually is. But if you just need to understand what one paper has done, well, the introduction may not be as relevant to you. But the abstract is, no matter what. Always read the abstract. Okay, for writing, the best way to write research is to read more research. The best way to write anything is to read more. That's it. You don't even have to like pay attention to the style choices that are happening while you're reading. They'll just kind of like get in your brain when you read. It just happens. The other thing is to practice writing more. Writing comes faster when you do it more. Just again, it's like training. It's like working out. So the more you write, the faster you are at writing. If you're slow at figuring out how you want to say something, you'll get faster by doing it. You don't even necessarily need feedback from someone to tell you that's good. That's a different skill. One skill is how to spit out thoughts into sentences on a page, and you can train that just by doing it. There's a whole other skill of like the thoughts that you have are organized well or make sense. Totally different. You don't need to put them together. You don't need somebody to look at what you're doing to say like this is good. So journal. Just start journaling, or writing comments on like Reddit and stuff like that. That's all writing. Practice it. If you're not good with punctuation and stuff and grammar, practice that when you're journaling or writing comments on Reddit. It's a good way to get practice. And if people are misunderstanding in these comments what you're saying, that's feedback that what you're saying isn't clear. Journaling is mostly just practice for getting your thoughts out. Another thing is the Kale book that I've given you. If you're writing research, the whole book is important. And if you're writing anything, I think it's about the first 4 chapters is important. Are important. Okay, math. A lot of you were worried about math, and that's totally understandable. One thing I want to tell you, you're going to laugh at me when I say this. You're like, you are so out of touch when you say it's not as hard as you think it is. You don't understand how hard math is for me. But look, man, I teach math. So like I do understand that it's hard for people. But I still think it's not as hard as you think it is. And the reason why I say this is, if you're one of the people who have a problem with math, or you think you have a problem with math, you're really only engaging with math in a high-stress environment. Like, we're in school, and you're engaging with math. I got to move my head again. Okay, so you're in class. You're engaging with math. You don't do math at home because why would you? Because it's like something that you're doing in grade school that you don't like. You go back to school, you're not understanding what they're telling you about fractions or something, and then they expect you to do a test on it. That doesn't go well. So then it becomes like the only time that you're doing anything with this is when you're freaking out about it. So of course it's hard for you because you're not only dealing with the actual concept, which is never easy. Like mathematical concepts are like sort of complex by nature. But you're also dealing with all these like years of like, oh God, I don't know how to do this. I don't have experience with this. Oh no. All that. So like I liken this to like people who have social anxiety. Some people are just like, you can go out and you're like, oh, a party. Great. I'll get a beer. I'm going to walk around and talk to everybody. Cool, whatever. It's because you talk to people a lot. Right? Like if you have a job where you have to interact with the public a lot, it's also probably really easy for you to go to a party or something like that. And you're just fine. They have a lot of experience dealing with being around people. If this is you, like you're good at parties, think about how easy it is for you in all aspects of your life. There are people who have really intense social phobias, and one of the reasons is maybe they don't put themselves in positions where they have to talk to a lot of people, so it becomes harder and harder to do this thing. That's math. It's the same thing. So put yourself in a position where you have to do more math and do it in a place where you're like more relaxed. So start playing games. This game right here is called Kakuro. It's like Sudoku, but with addition. Yay. So it's sort of like Sudoku. So essentially what you're doing is you have to have all of these squares add up to this, and you have to arrange them in a way that they'll also work going down. You use 1 through 9 and figure it out. So like if you're going to play this, you'd want to start on one of these ones where there's only 2. Like this one across, there's 4. I don't think you can double up in a row. So this is going to be either 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. Right? And then just start doing that. This is simple because I know the problem that you're having isn't like adding 2 numbers together or adding 5 numbers together. I know that's not the problem. But my point here is if you start doing this kind of stuff for fun and you start getting into like, I enjoy solving this problem, the I enjoy solving this problem will start to like creep in to your math classes and you'll enjoy solving this problem. Quick example, doing algebra, we had these like really complex equations like solve for x. Maybe it was calculus, something like that. Yeah, I think it was calculus. So I'm doing calculus. You have these complex equations. You have to solve for something. And I'm like doing back then it was web work that we had to do, which I think is still what ASU uses in math. I don't know. And like I just had a night. I didn't have anything else to do. So I just like put on some music and I'm like doing this homework and I'm like totally enjoying it because it's like solving a puzzle. It's like I would be doing this for fun also. So you just have made your math homework a fun thing that you have to do because there's a mystery to be solved. It's not like I also enjoy writing, but it's not like writing where it's subjective. Like you turn something into me, I read it, and then I'm the person who says this is great or this is shit, something like that. That's not true. With math, there is an answer, and then especially if you've got multiple choices, if your answer is not one of those choices, you know that you've made a mistake and you can go back and fix it. So it's a really low stress environment. Anyway, my point is, start playing puzzles. r/puzzles is another one. That's Reddit. So reddit.com/r/puzzles. There's a ton of puzzles on there. The answers are usually in the comments. Sometimes the answers aren't in the comments because people are like confused about how to figure out the answer. And so once you start doing these puzzles enough that you're good at it, somebody will post one and they're like, I don't know how to get it. What if you're the one that figures it out and you post like, oh, it's this, and you get there this way? Oh man, you feel so awesome. And then you go in and ace the hell out of your math test. Cool stuff. If you take stats, take HCD 300. It is one that should be acceptable for speech and hearing science. We just got that approved last semester, I think, or 3 semesters ago. You don't have to take business stats. You don't have to take PSY 300. Now you can take HCD 300. I'm one of the instructors for HCD 300, and the other instructors are really great also. One of them is Dr. Kaiser. She's really intelligent and funny. And there's a whole bunch of different instructors that teach this online version of this class. And I mean, like, you'll have one of them as your main instructor, but the videos are... So you'll see a video from me. If you enjoy my teaching style, I have videos there. I also, if you end up taking stats anywhere else and you enjoy my teaching style, just look at my YouTube channel. I've got stats videos that might help you. It's Jake Patton 3369. I didn't choose that name, but it is hilarious. It's just the number they gave me when I signed up. So you search for that, you should find me. I think if you just search Jake Patton with the spaces, like just the name, it'll come up. There's a picture. It looks like my face. Click on it. And then look for playlists for HCD 300. That's where all the stats stuff is. Another thing that you can do is relate math to things that you already understand well or that you're interested in. Like I taught my mom how to do algebra, and the way that we kind of like had a breakthrough with this is she's like, using things to stand in for numbers is like really weird. And I'm like, but you do that in your head, because she computes her own miles per gallon when she's driving. And I was like, you're doing it. This is what you're doing. You're like solving for an unknown, and you're doing it in your head, which means obviously you're way intelligent enough to do this. It's just like this like weird thing that comes in. So then that was like the breakthrough to figuring that out. Music is another thing. There's fractions and all sorts of mathematical concepts in music. If you're a musician, look at your music as in a math lens, through a math lens. and see how the math makes the music work. And that might be a good way to understand math also. There's other things. Just try to find the math in whatever it is that you're doing that you enjoy. Letters of recommendation. You'll need at least 3 of these. A way to get them is to get to know your professors, your online students. So this is not as easy as just coming up after class. Go to the online events. We have these every once in a while, I think 3 times per semester, through the program. So find those in the Canvas shell that's associated with the program. If you don't know about this Canvas shell, you need to know about this Canvas shell. Sign up for go into your settings in Canvas and get the notifications, because you're missing out on a ton of stuff. So you need to know about this. Come to my office hours. I'm not the only professor who has live office hours set schedule. Try to go to these. I know you can't go to all of them because online students have usually families and jobs and other stuff. You're not 20 live on campus, have no job, so you can just go if you're not drunk, which is the main barrier, I think, to my in-person students. So try to come to some. We didn't let you know well in advance, I don't think, for this most recent online event, but I think they have already set up the next one. So you should be able to plan ahead and come to those, talk with us, and that's a good way to get to know your professors. I've got some. I'll try to post a Google form so we can vote on the best time for the next ones pre-exam. But at this last one, we did talk about the exam some. We also talked about coffee and other the problem with Arizona teaching English language only instruction in schools and how that doesn't make a lot of sense. It was a great conversation. So, it's not just questions about the exam. It's everything. It's what we do in person. Also get involved with online professional organizations. NISLA is one. There's others. The program Canvas site will help you with this one too. But NISLA, you can Google NSSLHA, National Speech Science Language Hearing Association. I don't know. Just NSSLHA. That might not be exactly right, but Google will fix it for you. You can't ask questions during the online lecture. This is true. I don't know. We can't really fix that. But one possibility is take notes while you're listening to the online lectures. Come to the office hours with your questions, and then ask me your questions. They're probably questions that other people have. They're probably really good questions. So you should ask them. In person, they always are. People ask me questions, and it's something that I hadn't thought to put in the slides, but 10 other people in the class are oh yeah, I was going to ask the same thing. So, again, doesn't have to be about the exam. I know exams are the big focus, but also there's interesting stuff in this class that you might want to know for your career just because it's interesting. So, another thing is listen to the lectures a second time on 2 times speed right before the exam. So listen to the lectures when they come up, and then the day before you take the exam, put them on 2x speed and listen to them again, just to get a refresh. Some students are using the transcript from YouTube to also just kind of glance through as a review. Good idea. The last thing is time management and anxiety. I don't have a whole lot of pointers on time management because I'm not good with time management. So I guess one thing I'll say is you can be a professor with bad time management skills. You just have to be good enough to not ruin your life. So lists is a thing that I use. In fact, I have a list right here. It's stuff I'm supposed to be doing. This video is one of them. make lists and then stick to the list. Don't make a list and then like throw it away. Let the list guide your life. Give into the list. Don't spend too much time making lists, because sometimes I take like 30 minutes to like write out the list, and like then I've lost a half hour. Just write them out. Anyway, one thing I like to do, just me, I like to count up how many items are on the list and then make tally marks every time I cross one off, because you really feel like you're making progress. So then you can look and see like, I'm halfway done with the list. It's fun to be done with the list, because then you get to like sleep. So, and then the other thing for anxiety is ASU Behavioral Health is, the only thing that I have to tell you about this one is that they're there. It's free for students. It's backed up. So like you're not going to get an appointment quickly. But it's free. And they may have some strategies to help you reduce your anxiety. But one of the things I guess that I'll say is just, it all comes down to like practice. All the things that I've said before: writing, reading, math, the GRE, all the stuff. If you're anxious about it, one of the reasons that you're anxious about it is because you only interact with that during a time when it's like, gotta go, gotta do it. And so if you can interact with these concepts at times when it's not freak out, gotta do at times, that'll help. But I'm not a therapist. They probably have other important ideas for you as well. That just is one that works for me. I think that's it. That's it. Great job on these again. This is not to criticize anyone. All of these are extremely valid concerns. So just pointers to try to help with the things that you guys are concerned about. Okay. I hope that you did well on your exams. I'm going to curve it a little bit. It looks like the curve's going to be about 3 points. I shouldn't say this because I might reuse this video for other classes if they have similar concerns. I'll just make a new one every time. For this class, 3 points on your exam. At least. Could be more. Good job.